he's agreed to halt attacks on Ukrainian energy infrastructure after a 90-minute phone call with his US counterpart, Donald Trump.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has previously expressed support for a US proposal to broker a ceasefire.
Fact. And Indivisible, which has really been the backbone and spearheading so much of these protests and demonstrations, well, they're actually paying not just these protesters to participate in these town halls, to go after their members of Congress. They specifically have a, quote, Musk or Us program where they're paying protesters up to $200 to participate in events like these. But I have new reporting coming out today highlighting how they are now subsidizing up to $1,500 per Indivisible group to host events that they describe as, quote, appreciation celebrations for members, quote, advocacy, recruitment, and get out the vote work. They also
Justice said it was more than two centuries. We understood that essentially impeachment was for very rare circumstances and not an appropriate response to rulings you disagree with. What's your reaction to the courts stepping in to make a statement here? They didn't make a statement when Joe Biden decided to forgive all those student loans.
Well, he didn't mention my name in the statement. I just saw it quickly. He didn't mention my name, but many people have called for his impeachment, the impeachment of this judge. I don't know who the judge is, but he's radical left. He was Obama appointed. And he actually said we shouldn't be able to take criminals, killers, murderers, horrible, the worst people, gang members, gang leaders, that we shouldn't be allowed to take them out of our country. Well, that's a presidential job. That's not for a local judge to be making that determination.
More difficult for journalists to do their jobs here at the state capitol, especially those who work in TV news. During the pandemic, the state Senate created restrictive rules around how the media can cover lawmakers while they're in session. Despite years' worth of repeated requests to change these rules, the Democratic leaders won't budge.
They were just in space moments ago, so their arms were able to float freely.
400 meters.
This is a gorgeous bluebird day here that we have for the splashdown of Crew 9. It's incredible to think that the Dragon capsule just minutes ago was going over 17,000 miles per hour. And now gently coasting to a soft splashdown.
200.
Copy, 200 meters. Brace for splashdown.
Off the coast of Tallahassee, Florida.
and splashdown. Crew 9 back on Earth.
The Trump administration's great plan for staging the great American manufacturing comeback is simple. You're making interesting new things here in America? Great. Then we're going to cut your taxes. We're going to slash regulations. We're going to reduce the cost of energy so that you can build.
We should defer to our chief.
Oh, wait, yes.
Thank you. Our chief legal analyst, Greg Gutfeld.
Oh, yes. Well, I'm glad you asked me that question. Look, John Roberts says it's not appropriate. It's not an appropriate response to when you disagree with the judge. It is really a surprise to me that Trump doesn't follow the appropriate protocol when there are rapists and murderers invading our country. Maybe a guy in a robe in D.C. can follow all the protocols, but Trump is the effing president of the United States who protects 300 million plus people. He is a leader who does not have the luxury of opening up his little books to read, oh my God, maybe he didn't do it the right way. Roberts, shut the F up. This is
now killing thousands of Americans or through the violence they're perpetrating in our cities. The president did the right thing. I stand by it. I thought we removed in one day over 200 dangerous people, including MS-13. It was the right thing to see. And I see the video that President Bukele put out. It's a beautiful thing. These people.
Everyone knows that getting rid of the deficit will require some tough decisions. And that includes cutting back on billions of dollars in programs that a lot of people care about. But what should be easy is getting rid of the pointless waste and stupid spending that doesn't benefit anybody.
Globalist schmucks, Gavin Newsom up to his old tricks. A new book exposes the corruption and rot coming out of the California governor's office.
Fool's Gold alleges that Newsom and his wife
listen to this, accepted at least $700,000, all in donations from California Power Company, PG&E, over 2 decades.
This is the same company that paid millions of dollars to avoid prosecution for 2 massive California wildfires.
Well, there we go. Monday through Friday, live at 5 in the Evil at B Network, Rumble, X, maybe even YouTube. Rolling on, of course, we'll join the mighty KMET 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire on the aforementioned AM band. At the bottom of the hour, lots of stuff going on, it appears. The legendary Donald J. Trump and Vladimir Putin have agreed at least to a partial ceasefire in the Ukrainian war. Vlad Zelensky saying, please stop, before he's looking at, I don't want to die yet, because you can't spend those billions when you're looking at the roots of the grass. So hopefully the peace talks that went on today, was about a 90-minute phone call going on. We'll have some more updates on that. Of course, the fallout from the Tren de l'Agra criminals being deported back to El Salvador. Judges having hissy fits about this and that, and Roberts is having a heart attack, so we'll all figure this stuff out. Tom Homan was happy, so is Stephen Miller, border czar Tom Homan, and Stephen Miller, deputy chief of staff, which he's calling these guys morons, and Roberts, the chief justice, up there with his pious attitude. Well, we just shouldn't be impeaching judges, right? That when you've got judges that are not consistently following the law, that's why the impeachment clause was in the Constitution, Roberts, which you are one of 9 that's supposed to be upholding this. So, like we say, we got a lot of fun stuff. Ashley Zavala is the great KCRA3 reporter, is at war with the California Senate, the legislature up there. They're basically trying to kick the TV reports. They're trying to kick Ashley Zavala or limit her access to that because they don't like her questions. They don't like answering the very poignant and pertinent questions that Ashley Zavala asked of all the leaders up there in Sacktown. So they're trying to go back on the COVID restrictions and, we're doing some construction and, we're doing this. While Insurance Commissioner Laura is vacationing in the Caribbean or wherever the hell he was at, didn't even show up to the insurance hearings, and they're trying to shuffle them through. We had that on yesterday. One of the big problems with one-party rule, as we have it, not a supermajority off the charts, no debate from the other side, my way or the highway rule that we've had in California, starting about 30 years ago and culminating today, where they got over supermajorities. They got 75-80% control of the legislature, all the state offices of that. We need to definitely do some major overhauls. I mean, we made a few gains, some slight gains in 24. Obviously, we got Trump elected. That was a big one nationally, but we lost 3 congressional seats. Not good. It's making Trump's and Tom Homan's and Stephen Miller's and Tulsi Gabbard and Bobby Jr.'s job much more difficult. We've got to get to the point where we're putting let's put some people in of just average intellect. Not these crooks and thieves and backtalkers and reversing around. Again, like with the immigration. Barack Hussein Obama was probably the biggest deporter in chief there ever was. Now, back in the Eisenhower days, an Operation Wetback, and that's what it was called. And we got to stop on this language stuff of, oh, you can't say this and you can't say that. It was Operation Wetback. Now, there was claimed 10 million were deported back then. People are highly doubtive of that. But there were a lot back then. Since we got better at keeping us statistics, was about 1 million under the 8 years of Clinton, about 2 million under George W. Bush, about 3 million under Hussein. I think it was about 1 million, but that was only 4 years. So you probably prorated out maybe 2 under Trump if he went 8 years, if you want to compare apples to apples. 20, 30 million, if you want to prorate that, who knows? Could be as high as 50, 60 million if Biden would have let run 8 years. So it's like all this other stuff, like the budget cuts. But Trump was the one that was putting kids in cages back in Trump 1.0, when it was Obama that built the facilities to hold children safely. If their parents were held or being deported or came in here illegally and were under incarceration, we built facilities to humanely handle the kids. Trump puts them in there and he's putting them in cages or whatever, which was a total farce, just like the budget cuts and the waste, fraud, and abuse. Hussein didn't do crap about it. In fact, Barack took the destruction of the country that George W. Bush, with the whole housing crisis, and then basically nationalized our banking system. Put our banks, 90% of the people were stuffed into 6 or 7 banks, nationwide. And that has had devastating consequences for us since. We have hardly any local banking institutions, anything like that. The only lending institutions, most are locally, are the loan sharkers that charge you 27% interest or whatever, or credit, like the credit card companies and stuff. I call them legalized loan sharking is what, these whatever, come in and we'll give you $5,000 or $2,000 cash, sign your name. That's your only local lending institutions that are surviving under this. So, and they're trying to stop the USA aid cuts. Some goofball judge is trying to say, oh, Musk can't. Even if they could make a case where the Doge deal, which I believe is fine, they just took one of what? Hussein's programs, renamed it Doge, and here you go, under every legal authority. When Hussein did it, when Hussein was president of the United States, Barack Hussein Obama, it's perfectly fine. When Joe Biden did it, perfectly fine. When Trump does anything, it's a fight. It's a freaking, like Tom Homan said, maybe we'll play a little bit more of that. We got 200 very dangerous criminals. Some of the most heinous criminals or alleged criminals or whatever the deal is. Send them down to El Salvador, which I've advocated for. I'd contract out. We in California should. What's costing us $180,000 per state prisoner. I'd contract out with Mexico, El Salvador. Hey, how much would you do it for? They'd probably do it for about 20, 25 grand a pop. That'd probably save 10 or 12 billion dollars on the California budget. I think the prison system's up to about 20 billion. As we've almost cut our state prison system in half. Our budgets went up like 20 or 30 or 40%. Chew on that for a while. That's why they don't want Ashley Zavala running around asking questions up there at the state Senate. Among other things, like the whole loan for the Medicaid, Medi-Cal, or whatever it is. You know, first it was they need a loan for 3.4. Now there's an additional 2.8. It's over 6. We're over 6 billion now. They're trying to ask for a loan. Remember when just before the election, Newsom, which we have that new book out, Fool's Gold, by Susan Crabtree, and I think she has a co-author. They're tracking probably 1/10 of the skullduggery Gavin Newsom's pulled off. But these things that we have dug our own holes in California. And it's our own fault. We've let it happen in our state legislatures. We've let it happen in our school boards. Well, another one. This one may surprise a few people. Of a school district laying off a whole bunch of teachers and employees. This stuff, and I will say this, and I was going on in 19 before COVID because there was lots of reports coming out that most California schools were going to be bankrupt by 2022. Then along came COVID and they're throwing money all over the place. Well, that's delayed it. In the next 2 years, you are going to see California schools facing some immense financial crises. This is why you should, even if you don't have kids in school, you should be paying attention to what goes on down at the school board. For other factors, it has much, as we said. Your house could be in one school district, as one in La Cañada, very ritzy neighborhood, in one school district or the other. That could be 50% value in sale price, rent, as we recently found out, one of the aftermaths of the big fires out here. You know, sometimes we focus on one thing or another, or small little parts, or just what we're concerned about. You know, you may be concerned about immigration, or the vagrants running around, or the budget, or that, which there's nothing wrong with that. But this all fits in. And again, if you don't want to Californianize the United States or the world, pay the hell attention what's going here, even if you don't live here. It's kind of like the schools thing. As much, probably in your community, has more effect on your quality of life than anything. That's why I say sometimes you got to take it, like I say, fly at 80,000 feet or more. I don't know where the space station's at, but it's up there a ways. You got to look at the overall picture sometimes and put it together. That's a guy like, that's the brilliance of a guy like Donald J. Trump, is he can look and see the whole overall picture and know how to move the pieces on the chessboard to make it all work. Whether you like Trump or not, love him, hate him, that kind of stuff is extremely important when you're the CEO of a company, when you own Ace Hardware and Sunnymead, whether you got a popsicle cart at the corner or you're doing your job as a nurse, construction worker, cleaning the toilets, as old Tony Villar Jr. said one time when he was mayor of Los Angeles. That's where you need to focus, and it makes a lot of difference in your community. Ben Johnson put this post up. And I bet you could go to 1,000 people in Riverside. You maybe get one or two to know who's on the Riverside County Board of Education, or if you're in a county of that. He's one of the board members. I think he was a school board member at Alvord, I think, a while ago. Got elected to the Riverside County Board of Schools. Corey Jackson springboarded that to an assembly seat. We know how that's worked out. Emotional all-night school board meeting ends with layoff notices for 85 Santa Barbara unified teachers. We brought you Desert Sands yesterday, which is kind of a in-between. You got Rancho Mirage and La Quinta, the very ritzy areas in it. Then you have Indio and Coachella, very, very, very working class, a lot of agricultural workers, ones that clean the toilets and all that. But this was an all-night emotional, everybody's up in, how did this happen? It happens because the people of Santa Barbara, again, not a low-income community, weren't paying attention. Now they're down there, teachers, parents, students plead to keep arts and music off the chopping block or save their jobs. You know, teachers, well, you're getting all those raises. $180,000 per year is your compensation if you prorate it to the year because you only work 9 months a year, luckily. And I'm giving you every freaking benefit of the doubt. All you out there listening, of your whole career, I don't care if you owned a business, you were an employee, whatever. When did you get 3 months off per year? Per year? Didn't have to show up to work, go on a vacation. Cadillac benefits, medical, dental, trim your toenails. Oh, you need a hair dye or a $300 perm at the salon or whatever those things cost. Oh, you were living high in the hog and destroying kids' education. 4 out of 10 in California, not a grade level, K through 12. You got the transitional kindergarten con. By the time they, remember, oh, we'll get them in there and that. By the time they hit the 6th grade, on average, are doing worse than the kids that didn't go to transitional kindergarten. And Newsom wants to back it up to 3 years old. They want control of everything. Moms, they want control of your kids. And if you allow this stuff to go, remember we took away all the bus service. This is how it affects your quality of life, okay? You don't have kids in school. So they basically eliminated bus services for kids to go back and forth to school. And teachers increased their salaries. Administrators, principals, superintendents, wildly, they took that money, boom. You're going to pay. So how this affect, even if you don't have kids, look at the cluster foxtrot in almost every city when school is getting in and out. And those are the times when people are going and coming from work. Same thing. It creates massive, dangerous conditions, massive traffic hangups right by the school, creates traffic and air pollution, and we're all going to die of diesel smoke because gas cars pollute a hell of a lot more than diesel trucks in the overall scheme of things. And when you're driving your kids individually to school every day instead of on a bus, and I don't care if we brought back the old Crown buses with a 653 screaming Jimmies blowing black smoke out the tailpipe, you guys putting around, well, sometimes putting around, but driving 80 miles an hour to get your kid to school, throwing trash out the windows all the time. I'm going to do a study on that, along with the traffic. How the difference between when, let's say, when school's on spring break or summer vacation versus when school is just in your city or area or on the freeways. And again, where public transportation, the one place it works is students going to school, because you have them 180 days. They're going from point A in the morning to point B to school, and then from point B in the afternoon back to point A. 180 days a year. All this money we waste on Riverside Transit Agency and BART, whatever it is called down in LA, Metro and all that other crap. Lucky if you see two people riding in a 40-passenger bus. The one place public transportation worked was school buses. They were full all the time. Every route was full. Or practically full. Let's say 90% capacity. Now it's just like special ed kids and a few and that, and they have a couple big ones around for field trips or the football team or whatever. You put buses back in, and we get back to building communities instead of war zones. That's what I'm talking about. We have a war zone in practically every community in the United States. You're afraid to let your kids out of your sight, and justifiably in most cases. But we're the ones that have created this society. And it's only going to be us that's going to fix these problems. Good evening turned into good morning, as it writes in the Santa Barbara Independent. During the public comment at Santa Barbara Unified Board meeting on Tuesday, teachers and students stuck around till 3 a.m. on Wednesday to protest district's proposed layoffs. Tears were shed, poetry was read, and pizza was delivered. By the end of the night, students were sitting on the floor with blankets around their shoulders. It was borderline sleepover for many people who stayed despite having school in the morning. Parent Eric Weiss threatened to move his family out of the district should the board make cuts to the music program. There's another one. I said probably the one thing I agree with Susan Shelley we'll probably have on tomorrow, the great columnist for Southern California News Group. She was 428, the music, we're going to take it out of the budget and make it just specifically for that. Now, I will say Riverside Unified appears to have a pretty good program. It was written so broadly. Some places like out here in Moreno Valley, they're buying pencils and pens for the kids, so they got regular pens and pencil and paper for their normal schoolwork. That's their art or music and all that other stuff. At 2:30 a.m., 8 hours after the meeting began, the board finally voted to send preliminary layoff notices to 85 teachers, including multiple arts and music programs. Those are going to be the first cut. Just like I said, at Moreno Valley Unified, the crime syndicate. They're setting up the deck chairs. You can see they're setting up the deck chairs where they're going to put unless probably just the most special needs students, the most developmentally disabled, or however you want to say it. I know everybody gets all upset when you use a retarded word. And you shouldn't use it in that case. We're not calling, when you're being mean to call people retarded, that's different than saying, that looks retarded or something for something that's ugly or you messed up. Again, we got to be realistic with the language. But this is the stuff that we all get into. And this is the price you pay for ignoring few like Louise Palomares, Joanne Steffen, Victoria Baca, here at the Crime Syndicate for 30 years. Claudia Ramirez, or Sandy R., the legend Sandy R., down in Riverside. And there's usually and it's been down to, used to be school board meetings were packed, or they were well attended, parents were into it. Now you're lucky if you have one or two people that are actually concerned. We have something like the Save Girls Sports comes up, there's a lot of people down there. If there's or like this. Oh, well, how did this happen? Why are we cutting teachers? Now, the crime syndicate's probably away because we had that financial crisis a year ago and they cut a lot of people. So they probably won't have to. They're not making the cuts right now that other school districts are anticipating or doing. But their financial budget charts, just like Riverside's and probably every other school district, unless some miracle happens, unless money really does start raining out of the sky, in the next couple of years, you're going to see insolvency cuts, really, I don't think school districts can go bankrupt. They just go insolvent and then the state takes it over. Well, they got no money because we're spending $10 billion a year for health care for illegal aliens. And they were blowing the freaking money. The $24,000 per student, K through 12. And again, I say that 10 years ago, it was only $8,000 per student. 3 times 300% increase. It's unseemly. But again, this is the Santa Barbara School District. They're having this kind of issue. And this is getting, every report I see, everything coming, this is statewide. This is going to happen statewide. Some of the biggest abusers you're seeing now are having to make deep cuts, like we had to do in Moreno Valley. We just sped up the process because of ineptitude. I'm going to say it the best, if not outright criminal activity that was going on down in Moval Unified. That's why I call them the crime syndicate. Is these things are, as they say, off the charts. Unfathomable. Here's another one. This is a great reporter from SoCal, Santa Monica, grew up just like Stephen Miller, the deputy chief counsel who called them all morons yesterday. Stephen Miller. She's from Santa Monica. I don't know why you would move back to the District of Criminals, but hey, everybody gets to make their own decisions. The permanent protester crowd, now that they're being exposed, are figuring out different ways, and there's no better person than Natalie Winters to dig into this. Here we go.
An indivisible, which has really been the backbone and spearheading so much of these protests and demonstrations, well, they're actually paying not just these protesters to participate in these town halls, to go after their members of Congress. They specifically have a, quote, Musk or Us program where they're paying protesters up to $200 to participate in events like these. But I have new reporting coming out today highlighting how they are now subsidizing up to $1,500 per indivisible group to host events that they describe as, quote, appreciation celebrations for members, quote, advocacy, recruitment, and get out the vote work. They also are subsidizing group retreats, whether that's for things like cookouts and barbecues and pizza parties, or what they call solidarity building events like DEI training. You can even see if the picture you have up on screen, people can choose if they want to be reimbursed via check, direct deposit, or their distributed fundraising account, right? And I just think that stories like these, it's really important to drill down, because if you look at it broadly, right, how the left-wing media presents it, they never drill down on how these protesters, these individuals, are being funded by Soros-funded entities, by these left-wing dark money networks. The people that you're seeing, it's not like they are organically or altruistically deciding to protest something. They are being paid to do so. And in the same vein, right now, AOC and
So, as a great reporter, Natalie Winters, who takes a lot after Ashley Zavala, from we had on earlier, and we'll pick up on her battle with the California legislature after we join KMET. This is, myself and a lot of people have said, you see all these over the social media networks and the protesters, I call them the Rent-A-Mob. They've been all over the place. You know, you see on the social media, they don't argue, they don't want to debate or have a discussion about whatever issue it is of the day or the topic you're talking about. It's just racist, homophobe, sexist, white hillbilly. Those guys are paid. Guys and gals are paid. And you see them walking across the freeway and blocking out the road, or down New York City or any town USA, ain't it, Oklahoma. I'm not saying all of them. Quite a few of them are getting paid. The organizers. Remember Barack Obama with the community organizer? Part of the old Cliven, whatever it is, Broward strategy, or get all these names rolling around. But Cloward Piven strategy, I think it was. And that was Barack Obama, Hussein, was in that crowd, that was in his inner circle, how he was brought up on that. Goes back to the old Hegelism, create a crisis where one doesn't exist and then walk in the solution. That's what all this paid protester, climate change, the little anorexic chick that says, how dare you, and all that. AOC and the whole trip. You've been funding this. George Soros is a creation of the deep state, United States government, establishment, whatever. Is what, open society or whatever the hell it is. That's been to destabilize not only Ukraine or any other countries, but that's been mainly, its main purpose was to destabilize and eventually take over the United States of America as a free country and turn it into a tin-horn dictatorship. But that's what this whole thing is about, and they're using your money. They're pointing a gun at you, saying, if you don't pay your taxes, you're going to jail. Give me the money. And then that's how they fund Little Bankman Fried or whatever, Silicon Valley Bank and all that crap. And the list goes on. You know, all that, the Act Blue, and then what James O'Keefe started really unraveling it. You know, the grandma living in a little hovel in the Ozarks donated $80,000 to, and why are they all practically, they're all either Democratic or very, if they're Republican or what, Green Party or something, they're all radical nuts on the totalitarian, fascist, whatever. I can throw the names around too. That's what this stuff is all about. And there's going to be more stories like that, like Natalie Winter's story. You're going to hear them day after day, week after week, month after month. But again, pay attention. Get involved. Whatever you might think of Elon Musk, we had to get him and his rocket and SpaceX to get our 2 astronauts that have been stuck up on the space station where that at 80,000 feet or whatever, wherever it's at, had to do this.
Off the coast of Tallahassee, Florida.
And splashdown, Crew 9 back on Earth.
Elon, who's doing nothing with Doge that Barack Hussein Obama didn't say about and everybody else has for practically decades. NASA is such a shell of itself. NASA, who put a man on the moon, 69, can't even get our people back from the space station. Those are what we call warning signs, just like what's going on in the schools, just like what's going on in your community. It's like with the immigration and the illegals and busting the budgets from everything from the state budget to the school budget to your city budget to your county budget and the nationwide budget. That's why we have an immigration policy. Hopefully, that's why we have it, and it's in place at the place it is so it doesn't destroy the country. Nobody's going to like that.
All right, I am here. I am here. Less than 30 seconds, Roy.
You got it. Sean said we'll be joining the Mighty Met KMET 1490 AM. We'll catch into Ashley Zavala's war.
10 seconds. Here we go.
California.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
There's the funky slide guitar music. Comes on every Monday through Friday live at 5:30 on the Mighty Met 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire and the aforementioned AM band. Join our vast video audience, Evil FB Network, X, Rumble, even YouTube for the time being until we get thrown off again. My favorite pastime, well, maybe not my favorite, but one of them. Trump and Putin have a partial ceasefire, it appears, agreement as stepping stones to a full ceasefire. Vlad Zelensky saying, please make it happen so I don't die. After his little dust up when he came over to meet El Presidente Donald J. Trump a couple weeks ago. Elon Musk got our stranded 2 astronauts who've been up there for 9 months at the space station. Got them back today. As you see the great American flag and landing there up in the corner as they were just touching down right around by Tallahassee, Florida. I don't get, and I was, up to this point, I was not the biggest Elon Musk fan. Not from the standpoint, very impressive guy, built some of the world's richest man, did some amazing things with SpaceX, even some of the work with electric cars and Tesla and stuff, and batteries and stuff is very impressive. Once in a very generation guy come along that can accomplish that kind of, those types of things. But the constant haranguing this and that, and again, when you actually, we had Hussein Obama in there that was talking about waste and fraud, just that little clip, doing nothing, or saying, oh, we have this, and what? The estimate, Joe Biden said estimate, $500 billion of waste, fraud, and abuse in the budget, which is low. If the Biden administration was willing to admit to that, that means you can at least, at a minimum, anytime you hear them say, oh, well, this is the only amount of that, or it can only get to this point, or it will only cost so much, multiply it by 3, and you'll probably be a lot closer. If they say, oh, the bullet train is only going to cost $20 million or $20 billion, no, you multiply it by 3, and you're still half a short of what the estimate is to complete it. Oh, it's going to get done in 6 years. Here we are 20 years and we got 1/3 of a mile of a bridge laid. In the equivalent of bum F Egypt part of California. It's absolutely amazing. They're trying to stop Trump and Tom Homan and the country, trying to get 200 of the most dangerous criminals in our country who are in here illegally, from the Tren de la Ragra gang and wherever. And you got judges having hissy fits about that. Now, I get if they start expanding this, but Trump's he's never had, he was president for 4 years. He didn't do anything of this. He inherited the crisis from Biden. He's trying to fix it. Like Stephen Miller said, these morons keep trying to put roadblocks in our ways of trying to make America safe. It's really, really, really beyond disheartening that before we get to the Ashley Zavala clips, and I've been negligent, I really wanted to get this. Jay Leno has a bill up to help you keep your classic cars in California, which if Newsom and the anorexic chick could have their way and all that, and the climate change, they want to try to make you crush them or get rid of them or make it. They're going to cash register. They're trying to cash register justice you out of having them. Jay will be able to keep them because he's very well off and did. But I want to get to this ABC 7 report before we get to Ashley Zavala, so here we go.
A great place to own a classic car, but many of those cars, even the ones built for early emission standards, have trouble passing a smog check.
Comedian Jay Leno is advocating legislation to change that. And our car specialist, Dave Coons, tells you what Leno's law would mean for classic car owners.
Owning a classic car is usually pretty simple, but some of the newer classics often have a tough go in regard to the state's smog check laws. Help may be coming to the rescue from Sacramento. Senate Bill 712.
We're trying to bring back that rolling exemption for a 35-year exemption to exclude classic cars.
Right now, the smog check exemption is for cars models 1975 and older. Under the new proposal, any car 35 years old or older would be exempted as well, but only bona fide classics insured as such, not cars used for transport.
We're getting closer. That was the original Dick Ackerman bill, who was a senator and assemblyman from down here in the Inland Empire. When they started this, when you got to the exemption of 70, it started with, I think it was 25 years or something, because it started with 73, and it was supposed to be a rolling deal coming up. Well, it got to 75, and then by that time, the legislature is going full-on kook. So they stopped it there, and they didn't. It was just, the 75 is a flat blanket deal. You know, not use, who drives? Who's driving an 84 whatever Datsun B210 from Moreno Valley to Los Angeles to work every day? Nobody. The amount of pollution that these older vehicles put on is negligible because they're hardly ever driven. Nobody's driving them. And if they are your transportation, you are probably just driving from in and around town, very short trips, very small amount of mileage per day, even classic cars or anything. At least we're getting a start, getting back to where we should be. This should be the original bill. After 25, 30 years, if your car makes it that age, it's no longer has to have a smog cert. Period, end of story. That's the way it should be. You can't go around, well, you can, we have, I shouldn't say that. You shouldn't go around trying to nanny state every freaking thing. Again, they want to take all the joy out of life. Want to get to this one because Ashley Zavala, the great KCRA3 reporter, has been at war, and I mean at war, with the legislature. We've ran her clips a lot here from almost multiple times per week because she's probably the most tenacious reporter working in Sacramento right now. I mean, she doesn't take no for an answer. She doesn't take the no comment. She dogs these guys, I mean, to get the story or make them answer the questions. They do not want her. They're trying to silence her in the California State Senate. This is the latest war Ashley Zavala is wielding down there. Here we go.
Senate has made it more difficult for journalists to do their jobs here at the state capitol, especially those who work in TV news. During the pandemic, the state Senate created restrictive rules around how the media can cover lawmakers while they're in session. Despite years' worth of repeated requests to change these rules, the Democratic leaders won't budge.
Members, any discussion or debate?
Democratic leaders of California's state Senate doubling down on their post-pandemic restrictions for the press. Before the pandemic, journalists used to sit in these desks directly behind senators. Senate floor records we obtained show it has been this way for at least a century. The Capitol Correspondents Association of California had jurisdiction over the desks, assigning them to different news outlets. But during the pandemic, staff filled those seats and the Senate prohibited journalists from using them without discussion. Now, the Senate refuses to give the seats back.
Historically, the press has been in the back of both chambers of the California State Legislature, which allows the press immediate access to legislators to ask them about what they're working on and how they're voting.
So this is, and that's why I say this is what they're trying to prevent. It should be called the we don't want Ashley Zavala around here uncovering the BS, the crime, the out-and-out theft, the skullduggery, the people not showing up, the lying, the two-face, the backstabbing that goes on in Sacramento every day. Here's more from the Ashley Zavala report on how they're trying to axe her from the California State Senate. Here we go.
More access issues in the Senate hallway right outside of the chamber. Print reporters are able to interview senators there while the Senate is in session, but TV reporters cannot. That means senators can evade TV cameras about tough or pressing issues if they arrive late and leave session early.
I don't think we're over asking, and we're just saying treat us the same way as you are print or any other entity.
Steve,
why doesn't the discrimination word come up? Why are the print reporters allowed better access than the TV reporters if this is not a shut Ashley Zavala initiative? 100%. Why do the print reporters, what sort of cards are they holding that allows them access to the legislatures? What, or are they all a bunch of kiss asses or what?
Steve Stuck is the president of the California Broadcasters Association.
For us to do news in an accurate and timely manner, we have to have access to that source, whatever it may be. And so you would think at the state capitol, where that's, the lawmakers are there and their access to press is even more critical, that they would give us fair and equal access.
On the other side of the building in the state assembly, journalists do not have these issues. They have several desks right behind lawmakers, and just today we were able to interview an assemblyman while the assembly was in session.
Aye, Alvarado Gil.
Back in the Senate, I confronted its leader, Pro Tem Mike McGuire.
So, as Ashley said, in the assembly, they have equal access and access in general, equal access among their colleagues, print, broadcast, camera, TV, radio. They have equal access. And another reason they're doing this is they don't want to be on camera because much more powerful. In most cases, for the general public, is when they see, you get a clip or answer that and you see it on video, much more impact than in most cases, especially today, and we won't get into all the reasons of that today. But in our 3x5 screen mentality world we live in, video, that's what they want to do, punch the video. They look at the picture, punch the video. They don't read. They may, if you're lucky, read the headline as long as you don't include more than 6 words. This is why they don't want Ashley Zavala in the California Senate and why she's at war with them. Here we go.
Wire. He blamed the ongoing Capitol Annex project.
And technically, this is part of the Senate floor. So as you know, in years past,
but in the assembly, we were allowed to do this.
And that's the assembly's rules.
But this is a much larger hallway.
So I'm just wondering, do you want to have a
I do. I'm just.
So let's have them back and forth. So the back and forth is, as you know, the members' restrooms as well as the members' lounge is here. Any press, any television press person can do a television interview not during the time of session.
Why did you take our desks away?
Prior to the construction, there was a lot more flexibility.
Why can we do it in the assembly, which is double the size of your house?
I don't mean to lie truly.
Truly, Mr. McGuire,
I've answered
the
you either way.
assembly.
I know you may not like the answers, but I'm telling you.
So you don't plan on changing it at all? You don't
Thank
plan
you
on
so
changing
much.
it at all? Just
Thank you.
confirming.
Mark McGuire, Senate Pro Tem leader, is not doing himself any favors. For one thing, just in general, Ashley Zavala does not give up easily on any story, and she will follow up and do the work just on any, and very mostly, you know, and provide great information. That's why we have her, we run her clips on here all the time. I mean, she's got her finger on the pulse of what's going on over with the scoundrels of Sacramento. Now to sit there, Mark McGuire, and piss her off is exactly what you were doing. Now you got a mad woman that's going to be dogging your hind end. And the rest of the California senators. You know it's BS. You're trying to hide behind the COVID restrictions, and we got construction and the BS. You guys don't want to answer her questions. So you're sitting there and you're running, you know, McGuire, they probably were drawing straws inside the chamber and says, well, who's going to be the one to draw the short straw and have to go out and confront Miss Zavala on this? Because she's been doing, we've run a couple of, she's been on this for like 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, she's reported on this almost every day. So I know I've had like 3 or 4 stories in the past couple of weeks of hers on this continuing problem. And it's a legit concern. If they can cut off access to the press, because in the legislature, and I don't remember, I don't think it isn't like going to your school board meeting or city council or even the county board of supervisors where, you know, there's the dais with whomever's up there. Then you have the staff members in the well or down or on the sides or whatever. And then you have the audience open to the public. You can come in and do the public speaking. And it is a little legit because they have 80 assembly members and 40 state senators. So there is a little bit of, you know, they take up more room and a whole lot of hot air. So I wonder if the place doesn't burn down with all the heat of hot air those bloviating a-holes keep putting out. But who cuts off access to the public, the press? Joe Stalin, Adolf Hitler, Idi Amin, Hugo Chavez, Nikita Khrushchev. Why don't they just hire their own Pravda unit if this is the way it's going to be? You know, get Baghdad Bob out here. Paskey's probably going to get fired from PMSNBC anyway, as Rush used to say. You know, put out your daily propaganda. I hope Trump eliminates all this PBS, Voice of America. You know, in today's market, you know, that's probably 1,000% unnecessary. You know, with all the communications, I get the idea of that, of the state-run or federal government running networks of this and that back in the day when there were very few. I mean, really, if you don't have access to that, it's your, you know, I mean, I'm sure there's 1 out of 8 billion on Earth. But I mean, you're 350 million or whatever we're up to here. You know, there's probably a few people that don't, but I mean, overall, I mean, hey, we hand out cell phones to everyone. Even if you're coming into this country illegally, we hand you a cell phone. So there's really no need for that. But that's what they want to do. They want to control the situation. They don't like a tenacious reporter that's going to run like a pit bull and not take stupid or no or idiotic answers and put them on, no, put the truth meter on them. They don't want that. So they're going to do everything in their power to stifle ones like Ashley Zavala. It's beyond criminal. Want to catch this one just a little bit from our great Vice President J.D. Vance.
Administration's great plan for staging the great American manufacturing comeback is simple. You're making interesting new things here in America? Great. Then we're going to cut your taxes, we're going to slash regulations, we're going to reduce the cost of energy so that you can build, build, build. Our goal is to incentivize investment in our own borders, in our own businesses, our own workers, and our own innovation. We don't want people seeking cheap labor. We want them investing and building right here in the United States of America.
America first, baby. Make America great again. We got a lot of work to do. And there's going to be bumps in the road. Egg prices down half of what they were just a couple weeks ago. Hasn't hit the stores yet. That's on the wholesale, but it will. Like I said, from Saturday to Sunday, eggs dropped $2.50 a dozen at Food for Less here in Mobile, from $10 to $7.50. One day. And that's how quick. Look at all the stuff that's happening so quickly. All the good things. And stuff like today, we got that. Finally got our astronauts back. Look at how quickly you can, when you put your mind to it and when you unleash the power, creativity, ability of people, you would be amazed what they can accomplish. It's truly astounding. It's mostly government policy and people that want to suppress you or keep you on the plantation are the ones that are hindering your ability to have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. As you know, I've been talking about standing up for our country, doing something. These big box stores stayed open while the little guys closed. Will our voices be heard? Does voting with our dollars work? PatriotSwitch.com gives patriots the power to walk away from the big box stores forever. Stop supporting the enemies of freedom now. That's why PatriotSwitch.com was created, for those who support America. PatriotSwitch.com. Is your car doing the hucklebuck and afraid you will be stuck? Well, head on down to Toyota of San Bernardino, Nissan of San Bernardino, Subaru of San Bernardino, in the San Bernardino Auto Mall, and catch a Camry, look ravishing in a Rogue, or be styling in a Subaru. Don't forget I-10 Toyota in Indio for those of you in the lower desert. You deserve to be the happiest human on the planet. So head on down to one of these 4 great dealerships for the car of your dreams. Spread the word. IE Newswire is now on every Monday through Friday, live at 5 p.m. on Rumble and KMET 1490 AM, 5:30 to 6 p.m. Join all the cool kids who want an eclectic look at the news without all the filters of the evil scoundrels of social media and the despicable dorks of the dominant press. Don't bumble and stumble. Subscribe to IE Newswire on Rumble and roll with the best hillbilly hoedown around. That's it. If you want to buy American, go to PatriotSwitch.com. If you need a new Subaru or Toyota, go to one of Cliff Cummings' great dealerships at San Bernardino Auto Mall at the 10 to 15 freeways. Don't forget I-10 Toyota down in the lower desert. What a day. They released the JFK files. We'll see if I think there's going to be a lot of, interesting stuff. They were spying on this or doing this. I don't think you're going to see a link. As Sam Faddis, who's uppity up, retired from the CIA. If the CIA was involved in the JFK assassination attempt, you're not going to see any evidence of it in the written record. So it's going to be interesting. I don't anticipate, you never know, they could have missed something in there. I don't anticipate any earth-shattering revelations from the JFK files. There'd be a lot of interesting information and people will debate it. I think the main question is going to be, what was the big secret? Why weren't they released many, 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 many years ago? But we'll see how that all works out. But at least that's done. Of that, we'll see what the Epstein files say, and the Bobby Jr. and Martin Luther ones too. There'll be some interesting stuff, but I think you're getting your hopes up to say, oh, there's going to be the smoking gun, or this is like that. I don't believe that. Could be wrong, maybe for the first time, but we'll see. That'll do it for today. We'll be at the council meeting in a few minutes. Mandatory, you're back here in 23 hours wide. You're the best darn show in the whole world. Until then, see ya.
The proceeding was a paid program.
All right, Roy, take it easy. I'll talk to you in a couple days.
You got her.